I suffered from mental health problems about 2 years ago. I was under pressure and stress and I was quite anxious and I sort of slipped into a dark place. The hardest bit was speaking to myself and saying, Mark, you've actually got to do something. It's pretty frightening and daunting to admit you see yourself possibly as being, you're failing in life, but once you set your mind to it and open up to people, they're pretty receptive and understanding and want to help you. For me, on reflection, it was the starting point of getting some help and getting well again.
I've just had sort of a general ups and downs, really. The most important thing to do is to speak to people. Problem shared is a problem halved. So my first port of call is to always speak to family. They sort of really help me break a problem down into smaller pieces.
It's important that we have someone that we can really trust and confide in when we do talk. For many people, the workplace can be a really important place to make friendships and have relationships. When we can be ourselves at work, it's really helpful for our mental health.
The sort of analogy that I'd go with is before I talk to someone, I just feel like inside I'm just full of like a problem. But then after talking to someone, I feel like I'm diffusing some of that tension.
You don't have to talk face to face. You can call a helpline service. They can help you to make sense of things. Sometimes keeping a diary can help. Even getting something down on a page can help you to organise your thoughts.
I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, aggressive prostate cancer. Post the operation, funny enough, the biggest memory was actually knowing I'd come round. I was alive. And initially in the recovery stage was one of pretty much euphoria because everything seemed to be going okay. It started to go downhill 6 to 9 months in. My stomach was not in pain but really uncomfortable. I didn't like the fact I was relatively immobilised compared to just going off and do the gym and stuff like that. Jude, my wife, incredible support. The line manager of my director was absolutely incredible because he was on the journey right the way through from I've got to go and see a urologist through to a text message, it's cancer. So he was of tremendous support and assistance.
Our physical health and our mental health are really closely linked. When we're ill, particularly if we face a serious illness, it's going to challenge us emotionally and we're going to need support from the people around us to get through that.
It took a while to implement some changes, but yeah, sort of dieting, exercise, reduced how much I smoke. When I came back to work, everybody was cool. I mean, I was slightly worried that people were going, oh, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. But everybody was fine, they were asking how you were and, is everything okay? Some people didn't ask, but that's cool as well because you can feel a bit under pressure if you're getting too many questions.
To this day, I don't know if it's going to metasise and come back. And so I was determined that from here on in, whatever comes, I'm as strong and as fit as possible to take it on. And that does include mentally and spiritually as well.
Sport for me is a really good stress reliever and helps improve my well-being. So I quite often go for runs or go swimming or play netball, and even just sort of putting those trainers on and getting outside, you always feel so much better.
Self-care is taking care of ourselves, watching out for times where we might be having trouble and doing something to affect that. And most of the things that work are simple. It could be exercise, it could be diet, it could be sleep, but all of us can find something that works for us.
After I had a family bereavement, I did actually see a counsellor, and if there's ever a time in my life where I feel like everything's sort of on top of me slightly, I do go and speak to her. It's nice to have someone who's completely external from your day-to-day life that you feel comfortable talking to.
When we're affected by events in our childhood or traumatic events in adulthood, those events can have an impact on us years later, and sometimes we need to work harder to look after our mental health.
Within yourself, you've got to acknowledge that there is a problem and don't just keep going through the motions.
I think it's important to have someone that you feel that you can talk to, and it's reciprocal really. You'll speak to someone about something that's bothering you and they might return when you're feeling good about yourself. So you're just there to help each other out and improve each other's well-being.
If you feel better, you believe you can overcome. And the spirituality thing is the more you stay within, the less likelihood that you're going to actually be expansive enough to be resilient enough mentally, physically and spiritually.
We may not realise it, but everyone has a mental health story. We remember a time when we were under pressure at work. We remember a time when we were drinking a bit too much and we had to pull back. It's really important that people are able to hear these stories so that people recognise that mental health is something we all have. Our research tells us that 74% of people in the UK have felt so stressed in the last year that they were overwhelmed or unable to cope, and that 1 in 6 people will have a mental health problem at any given time. This is an issue that affects everybody, and we need everybody to take their part in addressing it.